Are you really? Are you a 30-foot walker?
I'll take it.
Oh yeah, of course.
Welcome to the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. I'm Thundercloud Repairian, washing away the garbage, leaving rainbows after rain. As you probably know, my mum calls me James.
How you going, James?
Oh, well, thanks, Steve. Welcome, everybody. We've got a run sheet out there in Facebook, YouTube, and online. Well, we've got a run sheet tonight going something like this. Rob, Steve, James, this one. Larry, Doug, Gladys, Ashley, Saul. And then our one who goes on after the cameras go off.
Who's that?
We can't say her name online. Yeah.
It's private. Oh, look,
Um,
there's a parrot behind you.
Yeah, Polly. All right. Last night. Well, let's begin with acknowledgement of country that we're in the Arcadia Theatre, which sits on Kamilaroi, banned by land here in Guyra, and acknowledge the continuous connection to the land of the elders, past, present, and emerging, and acknowledge that sovereignty has never been ceded. I had the pleasure of going to the Arts Northwest Arts Read launch last night at the Armadale Playhouse. So big shout out to Arts Northwest out there. To also Kaleidoscope, which is an online group run by on Facebook by Arts Northwest, which all different kinds of artists can subscribe to and like and follow and put your events up there. So, from Saul to Steve, poets to visual artists, musicians, and a whole lot of other stuff out there. New England Writers Centre is going to be holding a poetry workshop here later in October. So the night was a really good networking night. I met, once again, Bruce Mingies, who's the head of not only part of the Armadale Drama and Theatrical Society, something like that, but also Fiore Musicale, which is the Armadale Chamber Choir, who are coming here again to the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame on the 9th of April. Wow. So that'll be the third time they've played here, and it's a fantastic sound. So I'll let you all know when you can get tickets for that. In the meantime, you can get tickets for the Festival of Small Halls. Now, Rob over here is going to be doing the opening act for that, the support act. And that's got Juzzy Smith and Karen Lee Andrews. And it's part of the Wood 40, which is the Woodford Folk Festival in Queensland. They do a small halls tour every year with a couple of their acts. So they're on lots of places, and that's actually on the road right now. In fact, today, the 9th of February, they're playing at Iluka. We're also playing the 10th of February at Karamba, the 11th at Fredericton, then Laguna, Pyrie, Goulburn, Dalton, Gann, Maine, Retreat, Severn, Lake, Pamela, Brungle Memorial Hall, Numarella, Woodstock, Orange, Currabubula, and then Guyra on the 3rd of March, Argents Hill, Turmina, and Eureka, finishing up there on the 6th of March. So the 3rd of March, Juzzy Smith, Karen Lee Andrews are coming here to fill this hall. So get your tickets now. They're only $25, $20 if you're a concession, and $15 if you're under 17. So 16 and under get out.
Don't leave me out.
Yeah. Oh, you'll get again. Yeah. You'll get a concession there, Gladys. So on that note, last night I did an introduction to this place. We all had 3 minutes there at the Restart Arts launch. And this here is how mine started, and then I'm going to get on and read to you Mary $10, but more about $10 Mary later. Poetry is good. Trees are wood. You can plant a poet tree. Poet trees have good wood. Poetry has sound. Trees are brown. Monkeys make sounds and are brown. Monkeys don't write poetry. Monkeys are not trees. Hooved animals cannot play the piano. Wednesday Words open mic poetry night is on Wednesday night. Monkeys do tricks. Open mic starts at 6:30.
Wow.
You're invited. Don't be frightened. That's it. Yeah, well, and that's you guys. You're all invited, so thank you for coming up here tonight. Yeah, it's really good to see you all here, and thank you for all your support and coming along, and everybody out there watching too. And I know there's some local people, and there's some people all around the world that watch it in different places. Was it Montana, Doug? Ireland, England, Oliver Street. In Gara. Yeah. International, yeah,
Berlin. Don't forget Berlin.
And Berlin as well, yeah.
And the guy in Montana lives in Pinecrest Road, Clancy.
Clancy.
He lives in the suburbs.
In the suburb of Clancy.
He lives in Bunny Clancy.
Oh, you know the Queensland Road, and we don't know where we are.
No.
I told him he's lost.
I'm lost. Well, the poet's note is $10. You got $10 banjo on one side of the blue note, and on the other side of the blue note, can you tell me who she is?
Mary Gilmore.
Well, thank you, Ashley.
Mary.
Yes, Dame Mary Gilmore. She lived to 93. She was born in 1867 and died in something like that, or even older, and died in 1963. So
She lived exactly where the big Coca-Cola sign is, at the 5 ways going into the cross. Exactly where the Coca-Cola sign is.
Yeah, she was guilty. Yeah. $10 Mary. Okay, so $10 Mary Gilmore was around for a very long time, and she wrote lots of poetry, and she was such a good poet that they stuck her on the $10. This is from her book Battlefields, published in 1940 something. I think it was during the war, 1939. This one, The Crow. When on the sunny air there falls like black flake, his voice, the newborn lambs hear it and quake. No skyward look have they, but where upon the grass his shadow runs, what fear lest it not pass. The next one is one which I really liked, actually. I read this out on Saturday, and we have the Gyra Farmers and Craft Market every Saturday here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame from 8:30 to 12:30. And this week we've got the Gyra Lions Club coming here to do a sausage sizzle. Ooh. Wow. So it's a gold coin $2 donation. The Australian Poetry Hall of Fame is providing their barbecue and the gas. And They're getting their sausages down at Kirkside GA. Get your sausages down there. They're getting their bread somewhere else. But that's, yeah.
Supporting local.
They're supporting local people, yeah. The mushroom. Have you ever seen on a hillside the mushroom, white and small, thrusting her head through the grass and the dewdrops over all? Clear and fresh in her coming, as fair as the newly born, she has seen the stars move on with the night and the sun rise up at morn. A top like a baby's head and a hood like a baby's skin, with the pink of a shell-like palm contained and curled within. She comes as the spring's evangel, the dew on her shining crown, a little round thing on a hillside, white with the white of down. She is the meekest of all meek things, but her mansion is earth and sky. Her jewels are dewdrops that hung on the grass in a sun like a peacock's eye. As yet, as the day and its heat draws on, she opens her mantle wide, as ever the mothering ones have done, that brood might shelter and hide. O man, with your claims to be greater than even the mightiest things, whose realm is wider than earth and sky, whose servants are prelates and kings, if you have never seen on a hillside the mushroom, white and small, then whatever your state and whatever your pride, you never have lived at all. Now, Terence McKenna just says that we're like big mushrooms, that we can walk around and talk and we can do funny things. Yeah. The wild plum. Race counts. The beauty of the wild plum lives not less because the garden more profusion grows. The winds of ages sweeping down the terraces of time still mark it where it stands unchanged upon its ancient mountain steps. And when it blossomed first upon a changing world, race counts, enduring and resistant still. The beauty of the wild plum lives, the grafted and the garden goes. All right. Well, that's
$10,
it's definitely worth $10. Yeah, yeah. And this book's worth $40 if you want to buy it off me.
Is that because you read 4 poems?
No, that's because that's what the pencil settings were.
Pencil in.
Right, and with that, I'm going to invite Rob up, who's first off tonight, and he's accompanied, Rob Baker, who's accompanied by Steve and Saul on the clicky clacky bell ding ding things. Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm going to do 2 ancient sea shanties and 1 very old Australian bush ballad. Nice gentleman.
How you doing, Saul? You all right? Yeah, you got very nice, yeah.
them all to capture the monster from the sea. Yay.
Oh, I've got a snake.
I've been there for a while.
Snake noise?
I
I got lost on its way. The rattlesnake.
There's an old Australian bush song. Dying Stockman.
That's a beautiful drum you've got, Steve. No, the pink one with the love hearts. Yeah.
Reminded me of the water washing across the deck.
I got that from Vinnie's.
strapping young suddenly died. His saddles upon his head. His two mates around him were crying as he raised on his elbow and said, wrap me up with the soft whip and blankets and bury me down below. The jingle goes on molesting in the shade of the cool of water. Then cut down a couple of saplings as one at my head and my toe. Cross up whip and saddle, they show that the stone and below. Wrap me up in the stone whip and blankets and bury me down below. Where the jingle goes on molesting in the shade of the cool of water. There's the end of a battered old day. There's a panic and out in the road. And we'll drink to the next merry meeting in the place where all good fellows go. Wrap me up in the stuff with the blankets and bury me down below. Where the jingle goes on molesting in the shade of the cool of water. Oh, had I the fight of the Brunswick, far over the place would I fly, straight to the land of my childhood, and there I would lay down and die. Wrap me up with the stuff with the blankets and bury me down below. Where the jingle goes on molesting in the shade where the cool of water. Where's the wheel of the dingo? Watch for the wind I was told. Bird calls the death knell of the stockman, who soon will be lying below. Wrap me up in the stock with the blankets and bury me down below. Where the jingle goes on molesting in the shade where the cool of water. And up in the shade of the twilight, where the soft winds are whispering low, and the darkening shadows are falling, lifting up the stockman below. Wrap me up in the stuff with the blankets and bury me down below. Where the jingle goes on molesting in the shade where the cool of water. Wrap me up in the stuff with the blankets and bury me down below. Where the jingle goes on molesting in the shade where the cool of water. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh, thank you.
Really good to see us all at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame, and what a wonderful time to be here. Hey, it's always good to come on the Wednesday night, open mic and see all these friendly faces. We've got poets here from all over the place, and it's absolutely fabulous. Now, I've been limited to 3 poems tonight, so I've got to be a little bit cautious on what I do, because I normally ramble on for hours. So I'm just going to lay down 3 little poems to you, and then we will travel on into the fabulous poetry of the night and the entertainment of the night at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. My name's Steve Wordsmith. My book is Where the Rubber Hits the Road in this game they call life, because it's a fabulous life. When you open up your eyes to realise the real lies, there's any real lies to be had. See, I haven't been around the world, but I've been around the block. I don't know it all, but I know a bloody lot. I don't have a house or a place of abode. I spend most of my time on the side of the road. I'm an outback poet just moving around with my heart in the bush and my feet on the ground. I've travelled this land from the top to the bottom. I've been to the Murray, I've seen the cod rot. I've travelled from east and I've travelled from west, and I've travelled with zeal and I've travelled with zest. Many years ago I got asked to represent Australia at World Expo for the communities of Australia. And there was 5,000 people around me, and you wonder what you have to say. And the stories that we tell from the places that we've travelled and things like that are what we lay down in words, because poetry is just thoughts written down. Near the rambling Richmond River, where the ghosts of cedar barges rise from derelicts and skeletons, telling tales of years gone by, of the early cedar cousin who's braved the coastal ranges to reap the valued harvest that the massive forests sired. But the years have passed so quickly, and the banks are now near barren through the mighty Richmond Valley, from Nashua down to Coracai. And the river's seldom used now for transport or for pleasure, and the water's brown and mud-stained as the land gives up the fight. From years of torrential downpours that's caused the land erosion, and floods that stole the topsoil that the big scrub held in place, where once there was an abundance of the fighting Richmond black bass, now from the murky muddy waters comes the catfish and the eel. Yes, Richmond's only one place in this wondrous world around us. The man has taken over and he stirred the flaming pot. But he reaches just his Urzo when he plays with Mother Nature, and she says the game's now over and starves the bloody lot. Yes, it's interesting times that we go into at the moment, and you know, to me it's a time of when we travel in the fifth dimension, but we won't go there because it's a long and journey, and if it clicks an imagination in your mind to go into the fifth dimension, seek your own information. For goodness sake, seek your own information, because it's all about love and it's kindness. We as a human conscious people have been taught that it's all about winning, gaining, getting more, greed, not being thoughtful to people, not being kind, just being for our own ends all the time. And we're going into a brand new world, and it's all about love, kindness, community, compassion and sharing. And while you're at it, you know, remember, it's good to give compassion and love out to others, but make sure you give enough to yourself. That the world is a better place because poets are in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Well, in a moment we're going to get James up here. Can we just move this stuff out of the way?
Oh, sure.
Well, just out of the way, so over here, I guess. Okay. Before James comes up, I'm going to do a Rumi. No, not Rumi. Sorry, Khalil Gibran. This one comes from. I've got my Rumi moment coming up for you a bit later on. This one is by Khalil Gibran, one of the Persian poets. It's called Defeat. It's about looking on, I guess, reframing defeat in a positive way, how it can make us grow. Defeat, my defeat, my solitude and my aloofness. You are dearer to me than 1,000 triumphs, and sweeter to my heart than all world glory. Defeat, my self-knowledge and my defiance. Through you, I know that I am yet young and swift of foot, and not to be trapped by withering laurels. And in you I have found aloneness, and the joy of being shunned and scorned. Defeat, my shining sword and shield, in your eyes I have read that to be enthroned is to be enslaved, and to be understood is to be levelled down, and to be grasped is but to reach one's fullness, and like a ripe fruit to fall and be consumed. Defeat, my bold companion. You shall hear my songs and my cries and my silences. And none but you shall speak of me and none but you shall speak to me of the beating of wings and urging of seas and of mountains that burn in the night, and you alone shall climb my steep and rocky soul. Defeat, my deathless courage. You and I shall laugh together with the storm, and together we shall dig graves for all that die in us, and we shall stand in the sun with a will, and we shall be dangerous. Hello, Gibran. I'd like to now welcome a new reader up. You've been before, but a new reader, James.
Is
Yeah.
that from the Prophet, by the way?
Sorry?
Is that from the Prophet? Or
No, it's not. No, it's
Come
just
on,
one of his.
James.
Hello everyone. I'm going to start with a poem by someone else, one of my favourite poets, Thomas Hardy, Shelley Starla. Somewhere afield, here something lies, inerts oblivious, eyeless trust, that moved a poet to prophecies, a pinch of unseen, unguarded dust, the dust of the light that Shelley heard, and made immortal through times to be, though it only lived like another bird, and you melted its immortality. Lived its meek life, then one day fell, a little ball of feather and bone, and how it perished when piped farewell, and where it wastes are alike unknown. Maybe it rests in the loam I view, maybe it throbs in myrtle's green, maybe it sleeps in the coming hue of a grape on the slope of your inland sea. Go find it, fairies, go and find it, that tiny pinch of priceless dust, and bring a casket silver lined, and framed of gold that gems encrust, and we will lay it safe therein, and consecrate it to endless time, for it inspired to bard to win, ecstatic heights in thought and rhyme. And then this is one of my older, but first ones that I was quite fond of. Change is the ultimate goal, to be part of or move independently of the shoal, progressively learning lessons, despite the endless ends. Time is only an illusion, this age an exciting instance to view. Alas, it is amidst confusion, with fusion in abundance a racing up to win. More like a journey, a path to travel, understanding itself, a mystery to unravel, waiting in relief, its own wealth, a seeker searching for belief, the maker evasive by stealth. Found out of order, inclined to mischief, eternally immortal and yet declined health. Choose your fate, destiny awaits, intrigue to sate, its appetite at any rate. Direction baits or transformation collates. Metamorphosis. End of the old, beginning of the new. A An idea of the past on which to hold and told does not so much to influence thought as it imbues a faintable hue on the view with a cue, clue, review, what is seen of few, then so cold, emotionless, temperate, fit the mold, what's new cajoled. Persuasive past, reluctant present, information's fast when truths require rent. Could life's cast be heaven sent? Right on a curve, I'm already bent. Are you learning to swerve is the question I meant.
Is that one you wrote? Or that's one? Well done.
Yes, that was excellent. Yes.
Well, in a moment I'm going to invite Larry up here. Larry's a new reader. He came along last week and he's been coming and having a cuppa here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame for a month or so. And then the other day he came and asked me for a piece of paper. So I gave him a notebook and he went and wrote a poem. And then he wrote 3 more. Yay! So, we'll start with the ever-changing, this is called Colourful Minds, and this is again dedicated to the poets. The ever-changing colours of an artist's mind appreciate the spring, summer, rain, autumn and winter time. Vibrations left and right, rhythm and polarity, the patterns expressed in art and written poetry. Winds are blowing, rain, sleet and snowing, spring and summer nearing as a universal knowing, rhythm of the seasons, spinning of the earth, after life and death inevitably comes a new rebirth. Nothing stays the same, every day brings change, if every day were the same things would appear strange. Cerise, umber, ochre, forest green and azure, mauve, hot, pink and violet, no colour is pure. Different shades of rainbow in an artist's mind, expressed artistic forms of colours, divine, sublime, with a little twist of perspective to see, made to inspire others through art, love and poetry. And hopefully Larry can inspire you with his poetry. Welcome up, Larry.
Thanks, Jay. I'm still learning to read and breathe at the same time. Which is like, it's, I don't know if we've got time for it. This one's turned out a little bit longish.
Oh, that's all right. We sure do.
Well,
We'll shout at you if it's
okay. Well, this one's about the a Worumi girl, which is you know, the tribal areas southeast of here, from the mountains across to the coast. It's lovely territory. And there's a girl. There was a girl named Mary Ann Bug, and she married a fellow named Fred Ward, Frederick Wordsworth Ward, and AKA Captain Thunderbolt. So I suppose you could say AKA she was Mrs. Thunderbolt. But anyway, there's plenty of talk in the bushrangers' name. They were fearless and reckless and for sure quite game. But what about the women folk who helped them on their way? They were mothers, wives and girlfriends of the day. One named Mary just fell in love with a young fellow named Fred who'd had enough. Fred found himself locked on Cockatoo Island. No good to Mary who had her eye on this fellow, so escape she did plan. They wouldn't stop the Worumi girl from seeing her man. Armed with supplies, horses and hope, and a file, of course, tied on with a little bit of rope. She swam across, leaving Sydney Harbour shore to Cockatoo Island. She would miss her man no more.
Oh, she did too.
Fred took to his leg irons as quick as can be and made good his escape. The rest is history. I'll keep going?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Captain Thunderbolt was quite a gentleman. Bail up, he would say, as polite as he can. His manners unusual for his lawless trade, but rob me would without delay. But with charm, charisma and manners to boot, they seemed willing enough to hand over the loot. Revolver in hand, it's no wonder why. But he did try not to make the girls cry.
Some wondered why Fred was so well-mannered. It's Mary, they said, like they took it for granted. She showed him respect, though on the wrong side of the law. It's us against them, this is a war. No, it's not, she said, we're just trying to get by as best we can, and that's no lie. But in the end, Fred left Mary behind. Too risky. Some say he was trying to be kind. So that's the story of Mary and Fred, pursued by the troopers who wanted them dead, under fire, hiding in caves and on the run. They still found time for manners and a little bit of fun. That's it. I know what my next poem's going to be called, Shaking Like a Leaf.
Did she ever live down at Bingara with him? I used to spend a lot of time at Bingara.
I think so.
I think so,
Yeah.
Yes, you did actually.
This one's about bad manners. We were heading north up Black Mountain. The old ute coughed and I started doubting. I gave it some boot when my friend yelled, ouch! Sure, the old seat was definitely no couch. Something pinched me on the bum. She looked at me, I glanced back dumb. We're on the devil's pinch, you know. She looked at me as white as snow. Don't worry, I said, we're nearly at the top. We'll have a couple when we stop. And we'll be on the top of the devil's pinch, you see. Ouch, I said. She grinned slyly. Don't worry, that was me. I've got a quick little one, but I don't know if it's kosher.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. No, you can like offend everybody you want.
We don't mind.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, this one's untitled. Well,
Yeah.
eloquent poetry sure has its place. Written by a professional poetry ace, homogenised, pasteurised and edited more than twice, then put in book form commands good price. These poets are very educated up. With degrees and decrees they could win the Gold Cup. Using 6-cylinder words that I can't understand. I can't read the dictionary, I need someone to give me a hand. They look at me like I've blown my head gasket. They could be right, but I'm not in a casket. I'm under instruction to just have a go. Some rhyme, some reason, just flow, flow, flow.
Well done.
Like their mares, Aussie male version.
Yeah, well done. Thank you very much again. Yeah, and that's what's one thing wonderful about history. You've got like life lessons, like be polite. You've got history lessons, like in poetry, like Thunderbolt's Mrs. Thunderbolt rescued him by swimming across to Cockatoo Island. Yeah. And watch out driving up a pinch. Illusions.
Yeah.
Illusions of patterns on repeat. Is it a popcorn that you eat watching video or watched on screens at chessboard with no teams? Are there abstractions, also distractions ruled by market interactions in a world of factions? Electronic platforms with spikes on a chart, non-fungible tokens of blockchain art, battery, chickens, Twitter and tweet. Carpet is not tasty to eat. Is a left brain world an insane, dogmatic, Catholic, repeated game, throwing porridge on walls sloppily, living in a game of Monopoly? Art is the cultivation of play, novelty creatively served on a tray, conforming to what's cool, creative children squashed in school. I owned a cat called Norm. Thought for himself, didn't conform. After a left step comes a right, after a day is a night without light, egoic, made up projections of vanity. Is this a form of insanity? Are we all living in a nursery of romance. Happy anniversary! Movement through time gets things done. Play-based learning is creative fun. Run, Billy! Run, Billy! Run, Billy! Run! Life trajectory defined by education and how well you regurgitate information. Boxes ticked. Competency training. Blowing bubbles in puddles. It's raining. Left-brained robot men in pink painted by artists who creatively think what would be the best time for doing. Funny ideas come while pooing. Learning, earning, stomachs, churning, spewing, doing every holiday. My skin is burning. That's it. And welcome to Doug, who's going to wow us with his wisdom.
Thanks, Doug, and thanks everyone, and as usual, some very hard acts to follow.
Oh, don't look at it like that.
I want to give credit, mate. There's good shit going on out there. And one of our pre speakers said, I think that's something about learning to swear. Was it in one of your poems? I heard it somewhere. I think I'm trying to unlearn a bit of that. But I read a book by an English academic recently, academic too, and she wrote a book about the power of bad language. I've got it in my suitcase. And she just says simply, if she's working with people and they don't swear, she doesn't want them there, she doesn't trust them. So there's going to be one bad word in this. If you don't mind, try to go with the flow. I've got two here. I had a bit of a go here with this one. And I read this magazine a bit, I only just said The Spectator. It's quite radical about mandates and vaxxers and all that, but it's interesting stuff. Anyway, there's a little poem here, written by, it's just English basically. This is English and I can't interpret anything. It's curious because there's a word called Morrison in here, but I don't think it's anything to do with the Prime Minister. There's a thing in England called a Whitby Morrison, I think it's an ice cream truck. So bear with me. Here we go. I don't understand some of it. The heat waves that would have filled my tubs and cones never came. Oh, solo mio, falling flat as I drove through my hard-fought patch on the outskirts of Aldershot. The Whitby Morrison will have to go. It won't fetch much, mouths to feed and no on the way, and barely enough to stretch to a penny lick. This is a bit I want to read about, and it's a bit negative. The collapsed dream of a gelato empire with parlours of chrome and glass has brought an Arctic coldness to my other half. It's a bit negative. And then it says, nothing I do or say will thaw her now. It would take an ice pick to reach her heart. And that's a bit negative, and I think that's why I'm here. I've got to get the ice pick out and thaw out of a few other people too. Stephen Bain wrote that. Okay, now, yeah, very, very impressed with tonight's performances. Okay, now this is called, it's funny, I write these things and I just get them finished and I never read them properly, so bear with me. The title of this is Possible. Like my friend over here, what did you do? You have trouble breathing and speaking? Yeah. I'm a bit the same, mate. I'm trying to pray as well. Anyway. I may be too much for some people, you know, including some family of mine. And if that's the stats, I don't give a rat's. I don't build a wall. That's the other one's call. Separate is not where I'm at. We're together at Gaia. I may have an admirer. This stuff counts all. I'm having a ball. You share from your heart. I'll be playing my part. This poetry gives out possibility raw. Big pictures and small. It all can enthrall. The red road is unwinding before me. Will you rhyme out your wisdom from old or new verse? These things aren't sermons, they're gifts, soft or terse. Sound like a preacher. Some say what you want is a house, not a spouse. A home is a dream you once played with. Bricks and mortar delivered out there in the Shire. Security's yours. The future's not dire. The prices are rising. You'll be sitting so pretty. The agents and banks guarantee all is solid. Don't fuck with my mind. My heart says, no swallowed. That's a question. Hey, do I need a shack fancy? Can I live simple like Clancy? Can you show me sense good as I try to find shelter? The pedals on the floor, the gas costs much more. How can I pay to come to the shop? The horse might provide this with a clip and a clock. My past brought me here to this place Wednesday night. A negative will just not inspire. Please grace me and place me with news not too dire. Please don't let me drown. Just lift me and love me with hardly a frown. Just carry me forward on the road back into town. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you very much. Well, after that we've got Gladys Wilson to come on up. Welcome up, Gladys.
I said, I imagine there's a whole big garden bed there somewhere.
There it is. Okay, I'll just stand over here somewhere because I'm too short. This is one I wrote and I just love it, and I think James does too.
Yes.
The spirit of the bush. I have a thing about the bush and campfires, you know, the smell of smoke and all of this. So this one is just the spirit of the bush. Nothing can compare to the beauty of this wide open space here in the great Australian bushland that could never be replaced. In nature's paradise, though, we seem to have it all, our precious flora and fauna, plus the magpie's early morning call. As the evening shadows creeps across and smoke from the campfire fills the air, out in this wonderful part of the world without worry or a care. Gum trees on the hillside now awaken as another day dawns anew, while a carpet of wild flowers and ferns all sparkles with the morning dew. But there is nothing better than being in this bushland that we love, with the moon sailing overhead and each star shining brightly from above. Here in all this wilderness, where we can truly dream that only our famous artist Namatjira could paint this magnificent scene. Many can still remember good times out in the beaten track, carrying their swags here in the great outback. With these days now finally gone, but the ghost of bushmen from our past, their spirits will live on. Now looking at our rugged landscape, far as the eye can see, but the spirit of the bush will always be home to me. Too much magic.
Okay. So thank you very much, Gladys Wilson.
Yes, thank you, James.
Now Gladys has got a few poems here that have been put up into poster form. One of them is Gumtree Lament, and her other one is the Australia one, so you can buy those here if you want. You can also get Steve Wordsmith's book, Where the Rubber Hits the Road, in this game they call Life, here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame, and available online somewhere. If you Google it, Where the Rubber Hits the Road, in this game they call Life. My book, Poetry to End Prohibition, the 420-2020 edition. That's also available here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. And I'm going to take this opportunity to invite Ashley up, followed by Saul.
Well, Gladys reminded me of that.
There goes the pen.
That great line in Turgenev's Father and Sons, where the character, his name starts with B, says to the forest as he dies. Yes, well, Australian and Russian culture have a lot of echoes, as anyone who studies it. That's always been said of the literature anyway, and a lot of the social thinking. I certainly have felt that in the last 5 years, watching theatre and poetry around New England. I brought my 3 rulers. I had to go and buy 3 purple rulers, and I'm not going to take them out of their packets, because I've decided that rulers are dangerous. They're a form of kryptonite, and I'll keep these in their package. Hypothesis, implications and parameters. And I want to speak for a minute, relating that to this extraordinary book. How can this be so neglected? The Master of Ballantrae by Robert Louis Stevenson. In the last week since I read and listened to this, I've talked to a number of old-timers around New England, and they said people who read had all done nearly all of Stevenson up until the 1960s. And this is an extraordinary analysis of where Australia is at in the wave of colonialism and imperialism too. I more than recommend it. The Master of Ballantrae. If we were to look at it in terms of my rulers, we have hypothesis, the 2 young masters, good and evil, God and devil, ripped apart in a civil war, and finally dying together in the distant frontier lands of the becoming United States. The implications of this are for all humanity. We must learn, according to Stevenson, that we carry the good and evil in ourselves and become brighter in awareness of its parameters. My 3rd ruler, hypothesis, implications and parameters. The parameters of what Stevenson said are great indeed. That's my plug for Robert Louis, who died out in the Pacific not long ago, and I'll sing a song in memory of him. Sing me a song of a lad that is gone, say could that lad be I? Merry of soul, he sailed on a day over the sea to sky. Mull was astern, rum on the port, Ech on the starboard bow. Glory of youth glowed in his soul, where is that glory now? Sing me a song of a lad that is gone, say could that lad be I? Merry of soul, he sailed in a day over the sea to sky. Give me again all that was there, give me the sun that shone, give me the eyes, give me the soul, give me the lad that's gone. Sing me a song of a lad that is gone, oh, say could that lad be I? Merry of soul, He sailed on a day over the sea, to sky, billow and breeze. Over the sea, islands and seas, mountains of rain and sun. All that was good, all that was fair, all that was me is gone. I dedicate that to my dear old dad, who didn't live it on ship's decks, but on battlefields. Here is a song where Fred Ward gets a mention. I had the honour of working with an Aboriginal gentleman as my class officer when I worked in education, who was a descendant of Fred's. I've got two poems here about Urella. Urella is the moon winking at Fred Ward's ginger. Click of shears and mahjong counters. Ghost of ghosts in the RSL doorway. Slow gear shift of transport galleons on the town's long southern slope. Urella is not 7 billion agog at a white ball, nor just yet one, with a hose to a chin in the sun. Now, tonight we had a thought that poetry is thought written down, so I'll add this to my book of aphorisms tomorrow. I thought, well, it's also Ineffability's released, holidaying beyond thought. That's often been said, particularly by French philosophers, but still poetry is Ineffability's release, taking us on a holiday beyond thought, I think. A very quick thought about Mary Gilmore tonight. It's got a personal relationship to my life and my grandfather, my father's father. Mary Gilmore at the Five Ways, where the giant Coca-Cola signs, the Knights of William Street. She lived there exactly, still is, at the Five Ways going into the cross. She lived exactly where the red Coca-Cola sign has been, I think, for 60 years now. And it does say something, doesn't it, that Mary Gilmore lived in that burning psychedelic electronic buzz going through the Five Ways to the cross. So, I have another poem. I've been reading a lot of anthropology, so this relates to that. Stone in the fingers held to pound the marrow from the bone. Eating that, so brain will grow to know and not. Thus, ritual on the morrow, the sand, the stone, the meaty meals tween death. I've got Mark might be out there in electronic land waiting for Johnonono and Bazza, so I'll give them a spiel in a moment. This is another poem about Urella that I wrote and lost and then rewrote this afternoon. I think it speaks of that place on a showground day. The four wheels come and go, talking of Clancy and the overflow. Gee, that Clancy's a popular fella here. Clara and Urella. The four wheelers come and go, talking of Clancy and the overflow. Urella farmers hatted, meeting on the rail, long dry, long wet, cannot be heard to say, for the cracking whip decides some centre ground event. An early February evening breeze could settle in before the whiz and shiver plunging rocketings into the dark sky. Before that, too, a passing troop of Viking warrior types, careful of eye with greave and breastplate. They labour blades away from north of the border. They've come to take the tableland sunset, slow, mellow torso light across their ringing armour. In the centre, the leather saddled, wheels steady and quick to scattering applause. Four-wheel drives come and go, talking of Clancy and the overflow. Uralla farmers on the rail, the stars soon out. A kid scoots past, Arvo's champion of dodging cars, tonguing sticky-chinned a hot pink swirl of fairy floss. Bright autumn, longer winter, says with hat in hand. To count the stock, we can be accurate past when, can, after the rainbow pyrotechnics, pop, zip, unzip to flagellate the sky in silver crimson concaves of relling fire. It's bye-bye to our bed, a glass of beer, or maybe tea, conscious for all the dawn, near or far's the dawn. And a little bit from Bazza and Johnonono, and then we'll have gone through quite a spectrum of stuff, from Turgenev and the bush to this. But first, I will beg your pardon and read something relevant to our hour. If you ever get a chance to read this guy's many books of mid-20th century and World War II documentary, take the opportunity. Ilya Ehrenberg, Poet's Grief for them, translated by Anne Stevenson. That was written right at the end of many holocausts that we call World War II. They wanted each other for a long time, but when they met, they did not recognise each other. In heaven, where there is no grief, it was not in Eden, but on earth, where every step is grief, grief, grief. That I wanted her as one can want in love, knew her as one can know oneself, called her in blood, in dust, in sorrow. And the day came and the war ended. I came home and she came towards me, and we did not recognise each other. That's a poem. Everything's falling on the floor. I love gravity. That's a poem that would be relevant to many scenes on Gyra streets, 1914, 1920, 1940, 1946. Well, here we are. The profound meanings of Johnonono trying to sit in a swimming pool of spaghetti with Bazza the Bass. Hell, I said, Bazza, hell! No, I think those balanced parallels in the left betoken heaven. What a word to use, Bazza, betoken. Strange antique word. Don't you treasure antiques, no? Feel the old days, the oldie ways, when you have that bit of ceramic in your hand? The toilet top, I said to him. Treasure the physical integuments that make us what we are. I do. And Bazza replied, allow us to cusp in our hands the concrete meaning of the red, white and blue. He's always on the red, white and blue, Bazza. But lots is warehoused in China. I said, well, still an English import company brings it in, puts it in a big shed over there in Armidale, and always look at the receipts, Jono. No, always look at the receipts. We're making the money, the red, white and blue. We makes the profit. And all those yellow slaves there, they're just working away, making the plastics for us. Bazza and I were at New England Regional Art Museum when this palaver was going on. Going along with all this, Bazza was much taken by a poster at the end of the gallery wall. He dashed down, as Bazza the Baz dashes, he tends to. Government is advertising grants for New England regional artists to live in Sydney or Melbourne. Do you hear this, Johnonono? Grants to live in Sydney or Melbourne. Our pure-blooded, pure-thoughted, rural visionaries to go to the big smoke and salubriate. That will be okay, Baz. We need some bush visionaries hanging above the harbour doing Armidale meets Slessor meets Five Bells sketches. Corruption! Bazza replied, corruption. Oh, no, the pristine grandeur, the Doric column empowerments of our eucalypt trunks will be lost in a traffic jam of mangled Cosmopolitan chaos. Cosmopolitan what, Baz? I interjected. Rubbish, he said. But rubbish has its place, Bazza. It has its place in the grand scheme of things. Disintegrationist, he looked at me glaring through the eye. Disintegrationist art. Rubbish art, that's what it is. And I replied, don't the brush wielders and palette teasers of New England need the challenge of interpreting shopping complexes, traffic lights? Oh, he's red, green and orange. Let's stick to the red, white and blue. The pure flow of birds on Mother of Duck Lagoon. Traffic lights in cathedral towers, I went on, as part of their canon. I'll shoot you, Johnonono, bloody cannon. I'll be. No, at this I noticed. Oh, we were becoming quite wild in our colloquy. At this I noticed Mrs. Pope, carrying 2 large plastic shopping bags, approaching. Galleon sails a billow towards us. Can one galleon? I suppose so. Mrs. Pope can. Did you pick up the new glossies on Armadale at the desk? I said as you came in. I was in a rush with Bazza the Bassett, but I know you'll have them upon you. She took them from her rather capacious shoulder bag. Rather, she took half a dozen of them from an inner pocket of the bag. Here, boys, I feast your eyeballs on the brochurements, the seducments. I thought, is there such a word as seducment? Of our high country splendours. Mrs. Pope, is there an item, I said, highlighting, high country, highlight. Ha ha, something on Baz's visionary suggestions for the Armadale Dirigible Hostelry Association. He's been negotiating with Meran and council for a mention of his visionary scheme for dirigible hostelry. Bazza grabbed the new pamphlet from Mrs. Pope. Flicked through. Not a mention, not a mention. Oh, no, no. As he flicked through, all the slightest floating of our proposal imaginative. No, nothing to be mentioned. I love the way he pronounced imaginative. Actually thrilling. Not a mention, not a mention. 2 schoolboys on an art excursion. Bazza certainly was on one. Not a school one, of course. Saw Baz getting agitated as he ogledly devoured the tourist birds. He pushed the booklets before my eyes. Not a bank or supermarket to be seen. Boo, loo, loo, min, ba, ba. He really gets into the rhythm here, as if he was undergoing shamanistic transformation to the old tribe's sing-song fire circle. And other movements, monuments, gum trees to decorate our eddying creeks. Look, look, no, not a Coles trolley to be seen here. Decking the creek side, as if any work of art could focus on disused shopping trolleys adrift on the city park outskirts, straggling with weeds and sticks akimbo through their metal frames. What are you talking upon, Bazza? Expostulated Mrs. Pope. My niece did a special, I would have you know, HSC assignment. It was a set of shopping trolleys balanced one atop the other, like Indian gods. Each trolley had the aspect of a crib, she said, with a porcelain, and she stopped, and her voice quivered with the words, baby Jesus inside. Our appetite for height, she called it. My niece called it appetite for height. Myth you mean, don't you? Bazza replied. No, height, spelt with an I or a Y, she said to the examiners, and they were quite challenged and impressed. So Bazza the Baz had made his point. See, you need the visual hunters to be pleased by what they see and to see what pleases them. I thought he was going to pull a paintbrush out of his pocket, but he doesn't carry paintbrushes in his pocket. I said ruefully, well, that's the problem, Bazza, isn't it? You see what you need to be pleased, and you see what pleases you. Well, says Baz, they have a limited budget, so there are only a limited number of rural scapes portrayed in these here brochures. Of course, I do get Esmeralda's conceptualisation. I'd forgotten Mrs. Pope's niece, Esmeralda. The wonders of Baz's memory. But government grants! Oh, so rural artisans can perch and interpretate the megalopolis canyons of rubbish. As we left the art gallery, I turned back and saw Mrs. Pope giving 2 or 3 of the new high modality brochure magazines to 2 schoolgirls who I presumed were part of this morning's college excursion. Do read Ehrenberg if you can get his diaries and journals. They are fascinating now, more than then. I read them in the University of New England Library, so there's a good side to rural universities.
Okay, here's a little something that I knocked up this afternoon to go with the following piece of poetry before I invite Saul up, because well, I know Saul's probably going to do something about love and stuff, but no, he gave me the thumbs up. So I've been ruminating on Rumi last night, so yeah. The poem has no name. The 2 verses there, the stanzas there, they're the first and the last of it. In order to know love, I must listen for the heartbeat, inhale deeply, and exhale. In order to know love, I must know loss, the joy of life and death. In order to know love, I must know loneliness, the comfort of a hug, and wanting. In order to know love, I must know trust, complete surrender, and betrayal. In order to know love, I must know myself, all the world around, and you. In order to know love, I must know the arid deserts, all the oceans, and the stars. In order to know love, I must breathe it in, breathe it out, and feel it. In order to know love, we must feel love, be love, and love. And on that, I'm going to leave that up there for Saul to stand behind.
Okay.
Did you do that last night in bed?
I did that last night sitting in bed.
That?
Oh no, that I did this afternoon. In about 5 minutes.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen out there in the world. I was going to do my other one first, but I got 2, one of mine and one of a songwriter. But we're on the topic of love, and so what can you do? So
I'm not into love.
go on with it. Well, this is one I wrote. I've got this. I've got this thing where I in my younger days I often thought of writing a book about love. You know, I thought, I know this shit. and after thinking about it for a while, and one sentence a year or so, I sort of went, and I had this great idea of to get and I might actually do this sort of thing of get get a thing and get a book and get all my friends to write what their view of love is, you know, because I can't tell it all. You know. So this one is called Love Is, ? And this was going to be my prelude for the book. It's about the directions of what to do. Writing in the book of love, like so many lovers do, regaling stories, revealing glories. Truth is always best. Impossible, you jest. But the greatest superpower known to man is love. And with such passion as we are blessed, write the stories and tell the tales, the worst times and the best. So give it up and shout out loud, or whisper in your cup. Tell what makes you quiver, tell what makes you quake. Is it love? Is it fear? Is it lust? Is it hate? A picture tells 1,000 words. Sometimes one's enough. The moon, the sun, cars, God, the beach, bark. Music to one's ears. Tell it in a metaphor. Tell it in an analogy. Do we hold it and covet it, or do we give it out for free? Because we loved it once before. Do we love what we love because we loved it once before, or because it's so fresh that we just want more?
That's the problem.
Well, I thought I'd leave it just in the air, and that's what got after it, you know. This is something that I think is sort of really relevant to the modern world, and it's just a bunch of genius line. It's actually a song by Frank Zappa, and it's called "I'm the Slime." And it's got to do with out there in the screen world. I am gross and perverted. I am obsessed and deranged. I have existed for years, but very little has changed. I am the tool of the government and industry too, for I am destined to rule and regulate you. I may be vile and pernicious, but you can't look away. I make you think I'm delicious with the stuff that I say. I'm the best you can get. Have you guessed me yet? I am the slime oozing out from your TV set. You will obey me while I lead you and eat the garbage that I feed you until the day that we don't need you. Don't go for help. No one will heed you. Your mind is totally controlled. It has been stuffed into my mould. And you will do as you were told until the rights of you are sold. Very pertinent to where we are today. That's right, folks. Don't touch that dial. For I am the slime from the video, oozing around on your living room floor. I am the slime from the video. Can't stop the slime. Look at me go.
I'll get out and I will catch up with you later on.
Yeah.
And yes, I'll get out.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gladys.
Yes, that was lovely, didn't
All
it?
right. Well, we got one more tonight to do. We got Paul who's coming up, and after that we've got our other person over here who comes up once the camera's off. So on that note, I'm going to invite Paul up. Yeah, Paul Wood.
Now, for those people that don't know me, I'm Paul Wood. I have a 24-hour-a-day
job as a chimney sweep in town, and I don't get out of drag. I was just contemplating having a talk with poet Steve, and he mentioned we were talking about the wizardry, and we were talking about alchemy, witchcraft and things like that. Raised the thought to me that I think that Steve is a wizard in the true definition, because at some point the people who carry the knowledge can't carry any baggage, and that's the definition of a wizard. A person who is just the personification of knowledge and experience, and that's a rare thing, and I think that Steve fits that very well. Also, on the subject of that, in probably ancient times, as I imagine it, that people had to have people of knowledge to do things, and alchemy was not just to turn lead to gold, but also to draw wire and to experiment with metal and things like that to make life better for everybody. And witches were probably the ladies who were aged and outlived other people, but knew how the seasons worked and could make medicine. So I just have thought about that, and of course Steve inspired that in me, and I think that Steve is a worldly and wonderful wizard, and I'm not. And I just got to say that I'm babbling on a bit tonight because I'm a bit dry for a song, and probably when I do the song, I'm probably going to go down like a lead balloon, but we'll give it a go. I just got to say that I really appreciated Ashley's moment, because such erudite, outgoing, and it makes me feel quite corny, but that's the act I got. Okay, this one is a Bob Dylan song, and Bob Dylan to me is an interesting phony, which I'd like to be myself, or I probably am, and I've got a suspicion that Bob stole most of his stuff. He's smart enough, he's a very clever man. And I saw an interview with Bob when he was in England, when he was a new thing, when the British people really embraced him because he was such an enigma. And a reporter more or less was trying to get a rise out of Bob, and he more or less was saying to Dylan that, well, you people in show business, live for applause. And Bob said wisely, well, you can be killed with kindness. I thought, that's a pretty smart guy. This is Bob Dylan's song, and in the words, I've imagined that it could be an inner thought, not an externalisation. In other words, the words aren't really about somebody outside. Maybe the words are all about how we are ourselves inside, what we are inside. So maybe Bob's a really smart guy too in some of his very simple songs. I don't know. I'm not a fan really, but an interesting man. And by the way, Bob would be possibly a very mediocre musician. He sings about as good as I do. I think he's nicked a lot of his stuff, but he is a poet, and he enthralls people of great knowledge, great musicians and great artists, people who are really at a very high level of art and literature and leadership. Bob's a great inspiration.
That first album is fantastic.
Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know. I don't know much about Bob. Excuse me. But anyway, this song is a Bob Dylan song. It was done in a sort of a country way by the Byrds. The Byrds are an interesting band in America. They sort of tried to cross over between country western and rock. And they had an album out called Swear Up the Radio. And this is a song off that. Now, Steve, I talked enough. I'll give it a go, or what?
Yeah, definitely, man.
Oh,
Definitely.
Okay. Bob Dylan's great words. Nothing was delivered, and I tell this truth to you, not out of spite or anger, but simply 'cause it's true. Now you must supply some answers for what you sow was not received, and the sooner you come up with it, then the sooner you can leave. Nothing is better, nothing is best, Take care of yourself and get plenty of rest. Nothing was delivered, and someone's gotta say just what you had in mind when you made everybody pay. Now I know you won't object to this, giving back all that you owe. For the sooner you come up with this, then the sooner you can go. Nothing is better, nothing is best. Take care of your health and get plenty of rest. Nothing was delivered. I can't say I sympathize with what your fate is going to be. Yes, for telling all those lies. No, nothing was delivered. And someone must explain. For the sooner you come up with it, that's how long you'll remain. Nothing is better, nothing is best. Take care of your health and get plenty of rest.
Okay.
That first album he did is great. And he was a kid. That first album.
Get sick, get well, hang around the deep well. Yeah. You sing that too?
What?
Get sick, get well, hang around the deep well or something like that? I don't know.
Oh, that's in Pump That Work Is Again.
Yeah. Dragon. Alright, I'm going to finish off with two of my own. A dragon came to me in the night and took me to another land. To the planet of joyful playing where every day is happy and grand. I rode upon his back and his name was Thrill. And we glided with his cousins, Dragon Jack and Dragon Jill. There were mountains, forests, fields and dragons dancing in the sky and happy dragons singing as they loop the loop and fly. And I asked Dragon Thrill, can I please stay here with you in this place of joy and bliss and love and happiness too? Thrill replied to me, drop your programming, life is grand. You can choose a life of joy and bliss or pain and suffering that is bland. You can choose guilt and fear, you can choose guilt and shame, you can choose pride and selfishness to be mean and make your own pain. You act this way from programming which you make go away. Disobey your ego, give love and fear will go away. And if you drop your programming and you think and act with love, then your joy and bliss will come inspired naturally from above. I'll take you back to earth, but please take my message too. You all can be happy dragons, but it's all up to you. Yeah. With gratitude for everything you can have, your joy and bliss, you are perfect as you are, and you can get over this. I'm a happy, joyful dragon, and I am that I am. I can achieve everything because I am conscious that I can. I jumped on Thrill's back and away we flew, and now I'm back on Earth and here I am, I'm telling you. I went to the dragon planet of joy and bliss and had a wonderful time, and we can have all joy and bliss on Earth if we all be loving, caring and changed our minds. Thank you. And this final one, there's a bit of a metaphor in this. I guess it's a kind of anti-bullying poem. I guess anyone could be the flea or the dinosaur. It could be like, yeah, you decide. The flea and the dinosaur. Many millions of years ago, before you and me, Tyrannosaurus Rex was born. He was bigger than a tree. About the same time Flea was born, Rainbow Fairy Flea, but small and super powerful, filled with joy and glee. Tyrannosaurus, grey and brown, strong and forcefully, went around tearing things down like a big bully. Today I saw a dinosaur laughing at a flea. It looked down and said, "Ha ha ha, you're not as strong as me." The flea said to the dinosaur, "Do you want to pick a fight? 1,000 times my height I jump. You can't jump with all your might." The flea said to the dinosaur, "I have a super skin and I will bite you anywhere. My teeth will sink right in." The flea said to Tyrannosaur, "I can be a little snitch and I will bite you on the bum and I will make you itch." Flea said to the dinosaur, "You can move about but I'm 100 times as fast as you. That's without a doubt." The flea jumped on the dinosaur and bit him on the knee. "I'm so much more than you think. Don't you mess with me." The flea jumped on the dinosaur and bit him on the eye. The dinosaur shed a tear and then began to cry. Today, I heard a dinosaur say, "Sorry," to a flea. "Without a doubt, you are so much more powerful than me." The flea said to the dinosaur, "Don't laugh at others too, because little guys are much more powerful than forceful ones like you." Flea said to the dinosaur, "You can't run away, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Have a lovely day." The flea, he bit Tyrannosaur. The dinosaurs all died, and great big bullies will fade away, get fried by little guys. Today, I saw a dinosaur get beaten by a flea. Big mean bullies will disappear, but loving, joyful fleas will still dance free. Well, I finished writing this here story at 1:33. All the dinosaurs are now extinct, but fleas are still itching me. Thank you everybody tonight. We've got one more poet coming up in a moment. I'm just going to go and stop the video rolling. You can pick this up on the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame YouTube channel, which will be uploaded there later tonight. Also on the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame Gaira Facebook page. They're there in the past as well. Thank you very much. All of you, all the poets here, all the people out there giving the thumbs up. Larry, you got some thumbs up from somebody watching us on the live. So for your first night, they really liked that second one you did. And the first one as well. Yeah, as well. Ashley, you got some thumbs up there with Johnonono. We've got a regular viewer out there, Liam Hogan. Hello, Liam. You got a few thumbs up, so he likes your Johnonono and Baz.
I'll send Baz around to have lunch.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody.